Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 2. I'm going to continue reading this matrix, but before I start doing that, I just noticed something as I was watching the playback of the first part. And in this first matrix over here, I thought it was interesting how there's a lot of doubles. You see the word throne over here right on top of the word throne. And then you see the word 7 over here right on top of the word 7. And of course this is the year 77 on the Hebrew calendar. It's also a year that ends in 7 on the Gregorian calendar. So I just thought that was interesting. But it's also interesting how many times the word throne comes up in this table. And of course this table is about Donald Trump possibly getting sworn in or possibly not getting sworn in. I don't really know what's going to happen. But there's another double right here. It's got the word come right on top of the word come. But the word throne comes up several times in this table. You see it over here and then again over here. You see it over here. It has the word thrones in the plural. Then it has the word throne right here. And you see it over here. And then you see it over here. And this is crossing the word shot. The T makes the first letter of the word throne. And there's another one over here. So it comes up several times in this table. I don't even know if I got to all of them, but I just thought it was interesting that the word throne comes up so many times in this table. And then, like I said, the number 7 comes up right on top of another 7. So it's like a double 7 right there. And then when you get to the next matrix over here, where it's talking about entering into the covenant, which again I said there's a true and a false covenant, and then the word death comes up right through that here in the green. So the Bible talks about the covenant of death, but there's also the true covenant that's being talked about here in the matrix. But right on top of that, you have 7 and 7 coming up right on top of that verse right there. So I just thought that was interesting because that's a lot of 7s as well. But I'll go ahead and read this matrix because, like I said, this sounds a lot like the rapture as well and the day of the Lord. Of course, most of the Bible is like that because that's what most of the Bible is all about. But I want to go ahead and read the matrix. It says, well, it starts out in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 15, verse 9, and it says, "And he gathered all of Judah and Benjamin and them that sojourned with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to him out of Israel in abundance when they saw that Jehovah his God was with him. So they gathered themselves at Jerusalem in the 3rd month, in the 15th year of the reign of Asa, and they sacrificed unto Jehovah in that day of the spoil which they had brought 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep. And they entered into the covenant to seek Jehovah the God of their fathers with all their heart and all their soul, and that whosoever would not seek Jehovah the God of Israel should be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman." And this is starting to sound a lot like the mark of the beast. And it's interesting that I had just randomly tried to put in the terms mark and beast, and when mark didn't come up, I tried in the word etch. And like I said earlier, I believe that's a more accurate word for the mark. So it seems to be alluding to the mark of the beast, and I just by chance had put that in at the top. And so it goes on to say, "And whosoever would not seek Jehovah the God of Israel should be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman." Of course, the Antichrist is going to be doing that for whoever doesn't worship him. "And they swear unto Jehovah with a loud voice, and with shouting, and with trumpets, and with cornets. And all Judah rejoiced at the oath, for they had sworn. And this is about the swearing in, the oath of the office, is what the context of this matrix is about. With all their heart, and sought him with their whole desire. And he was found of them, and Jehovah gave them rest round about. And also Maacah, the mother of Asa the king, he removed from being queen, because she had made an abominable image for Asherah. And Asa cut down her image and made dust of it, and burnt it at the brook of Kidron. But the high places were not taken away out of Israel. Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was perfect all his days, and he brought into the house of God the things that his father had dedicated, and that he himself had dedicated, silver and gold and vessels. And that's really interesting that this seems to allude to the mark of the beast, and I didn't even know what was in the matrix when I put these terms in. I didn't know what was going to come up. And I had only glanced at the matrix before I read it, so I didn't even know what was in there until I just read it just now. And so now I want to go ahead and go over these tables over here that were in my last video about the great city, New York, and the word nuke. And like I said, there was 4 matrices that came up. And the reason that I came up with these tables is because I was originally going to talk about the head wound, which I still haven't finished talking about. But I also have all these tables over here on Obama. The latest one was with the word Shiva, came up with 4 matches. And these are all really scaled down tables. I was going to try to do a compilation of tables just so that you can see how the word Obama comes up in the tables. And I don't know if I'll ever even get to doing a video on that, because there's so many of them. But that might be in a future video. I might try to do a compilation of all of these videos. Some of them I've done before, but most of these I haven't even presented before. And then that's when I came up with these tables on New York here at the end. But it's really interesting the way these came up, because in this first one is talking about 7 years of famine, which a lot of people believe that tribulation is going to be 7 years. I happen to believe it's only 3.5 years, and the first half of Daniel's 70th week has been fulfilled. But there may be a layer of meaning to this, another layer of meaning to this as well. And then it's talking about Gad, which is a seer that's speaking for God, is asking David which one of these 3 he would choose, the 7 years of famine, or to flee 3 months before thy foes while they pursue thee. So he's given the option to flee 3 months before the foes come that are pursuing him. So I don't know if this could, if you relate this to the end times, to the great city New York and a nuke, if it's giving a clue about something happening 3 months later, I'm not sure. And then the third choice is, or shall there be 3 days of pestilence in thy land? And this could possibly be referring to the 3 days of darkness. And of course in the first Exodus there was 3 days of darkness, and so there may be 3 days of darkness in the end times Exodus as well. And then I had put in these other terms that have to do with Christmas, just to cross-reference it with the other tables that I did on New York that had all these references to Christmas that were coming up. So I put in words like Noel and 3 wise men and tree, and all those words came up. But the word Noel can also mean know God, because El is the word for God in the Hebrew, so a lot of times that word is used in a negative aspect to refer to no God. So this could be the result of the war on Christmas, maybe not necessarily on Christmas, but the war against God, basically. And then in this one I had added the word army, and it came up with another table, and this is the one that I never got a chance to present in the last video. And in this one, the word army, you see it coming up over here in the bright blue, over here with the letters A, R, M, A, and right next to the word army, you have the king of Assyria, which of course is a type of the Antichrist in the Bible. And you see it again here, so it's like one right on top of the other, and it's right next to the word army. It's right next to the word city. And this is talking about the great city, or at least those are the terms that come up, and New York comes up as well in this table. And you see USA is coming up right over here, right next to the word city. And then you see the king of Assyria again over here, and it's crossing through the N in Noel. And then it's right next to this term right here, USSA. And then York is coming up here in the bluish lavender with the letters Y, O, R, K. And U is coming up in the lavender at the top with the letters N, E, W. And you see the word wise over here in the green. And you see the word men in the burgundy at the top, the letters M, E, N. And then you see the word nuke over here in the blue, the letters N, U, K, E. And then you see the word tire over here in the yellow, which is another term for Babylon. You see it with the letters T, Y, T. Oh, this is tree, I'm sorry. You see the word tree over here with the letters T, R, E, E. Sorry about that. But the word tire does come up in the other tables, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. But this is coming up in the second book of Kings 18. And of course 18 would be like 3 times 6, so that may be alluding to the Antichrist as well. But I'll just go ahead and read this matrix real quick. It says, "Am I now come up without Jehovah against this place to destroy it? Jehovah said unto me, Go up against this land and destroy it." That's the very first verse. It's coming up in this table that reads, Great City, New York, Nuke, Noel, Tree, Wise Men, and Army. And then it goes on to say, Then said Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and Shebni, and Joah, and I'm not going to say all these words, Speak, I pray thee, to the servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and speak not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall. But this person said unto them, Hath my master sent me to thy master, and to thee to speak these words? Hath he not sent me to the men that sit on the wall to eat their own dung and to drink their own water with you? Then he stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language, and spake, saying, Hear ye the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, Let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you out of his hand, neither let Hezekiah make you trust in Jehovah, saying, Jehovah will surely deliver us, and this city shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, Make your peace with me, the king of Assyria saying this, and come out to me, and eat ye every one of his vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his own cistern.